Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. This is the Super Bowl 56 kickoff show. I am your host, Chase Yance. We're going to have a couple of guests on the show today. We went over, going to have Ben Connors from Los Angeles, who will be at the game tonight. We'll have him on in a couple of minutes. Hopefully, he can get some connection issues down and all that. We're also going to have Jared Arvian on from Bengals Central. Go follow him on Instagram and his podcast, The Bengals Den. I think they're going to be doing a show around 3:30 this afternoon. I can tell you more about that when we talk a little later at 1 o'clock. And then we'll also have Frank LaPlaca on from the unofficial Cincy Bengals podcast. We'll be doing that at 1:30 with him. So it should be a fun day of football. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. It is Super Sunday. Unbelievable right now. Haven't had much time to think about it when it comes to this game. I've this week at least. When it comes to last week, able to read up a lot of things about this game and the team's runs and everything throughout the entire season. Has been really incredible to watch. So this should be a very fun football game. A lot of things leading up to it. NBC's coverage of the Super Bowl started at 12. It's going to be up through 6.5 hours. You had NFL Game Day Morning doing their thing for right around 8 hours. A lot of big things are happening, today. And the Super Bowl is basically a national holiday or somewhat of a world holiday. And this is the biggest event, biggest sporting event in the world. I mean, I know the Olympics is going on. NBC's doing the Olympics and, the Super Bowl this year, which they planned. So very interesting. But the Rams, Bengals, the Rams are 12-5. Acquired a lot of free agents and, a lot of trades this offseason and even during the season. A couple of key additions of Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. They had Matt Stafford in the offseason that they acquired. Cooper Kupp, obviously the Triple Crown receiver this year, and receptions, yards, and touchdowns. There's just been so much good has gone on for the Rams, and they started off the season very high, 7-1. Kind of went through a little bit of a skid, and then really got on a track during December football, and have been on a roll since. So that's kind of been the thing with the Rams, those guys, they opened up the stadium really with the fans in SoFi week 1 against the Chicago Bears. And I remember watching Matthew Stafford come out and just rip the ball out, throwing down the field and everything, and just, hitting Van Jefferson for a touchdown, Cooper Kupp for a touchdown, Robert Woods for a touchdown. That's another thing. Robert Woods tore his ACL when Odell Beckham Jr. came to Los Angeles, and that was it was a big issue that Robert Woods got injured. But what a godsend that Odell Beckham Jr. was right in the ranks of already being signed, and and making that big of an impact on their team, that immediate impact for the Los Angeles Rams. When we look at postseason stats for them, Matt Stafford has played incredible this postseason. He's completed 72% of his passes in 905 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's only been sacked 5 times in 3 games, and has a 115.6 rating. That is passer rating. And he's just played unbelievable this playoffs. He's had a couple of really big games against the Cardinals. He didn't really do a whole lot. Didn't have to do a whole lot because the defense was just able to do so many things for them. And then against the Bucs, able to have a big day, throwing the football, had, I believe, around 300 yards, few touchdowns, had a huge play to Cooper Kupp at the end of the game when the Bucs made their comeback and tied the ball game. And Matt Stafford just, stayed calm with his composure. And that's another thing. He actually has the best passer rating of any quarterback in the second half and in the fourth quarter this year. So he gets better as the game goes on, which is something to keep note of, depending on how this game progresses in the first half, and seeing, how intense and how close to the gap it might be, in later on in the game. Cam Akers, 54 attempts for 151 yards in the playoffs. So he's, only averaging 2.8 yards a carry. So the factor for him has been decent. They haven't really had much of a run game, but the receivers, obviously Cooper Kupp, 25 catches for 386 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Odell Beckham Jr., 19 catches for 236 and a touchdown. Other than that, and then you had Tyler Higbee as well. He's been a big part of it, but he will not be playing in this game tonight. So that is a huge thing to look at. And as we go out to Los Angeles right now and add Ben Connors to the stream, Ben, what's good?
Chase, what's good, brother? What's good?
Not much, man. How's the experience been as the NFL fan experience out there, Ben?
Has been fabulous. There has been at least 70 to 80% Bengals fans. And a lot of the Rams fans or people who I thought would be Rams fans, workers and people on the streets, were saying they want the Bengals to win because they're either fans of either the Raiders, Chargers. The Rams fans did not stay well, and the Bengals fans traveled perfect.
Sounds good, man. That's awesome. And, you talk about all the big Bengals watch parties. I was able to see it all over, Instagram and stuff from, like local Cincinnati TV and all that. What's it been like the last 48 hours when it comes to, fans meeting up with each other and like even like the hotel and just the atmosphere out here?
The atmosphere has been pretty good ever since the flight. It was about 50% Bengals fans. Right down here in Santa Monica, we've had last night I was sitting up in the hotel room and I heard an overwhelming Who Dey chant. The place we're staying at has a Bengals flag, and I've only flag. They've been all throughout LA, from Hollywood to Santa Monica, downtown LA, and it's just been absolutely crazy. The Who Days have been enough for one lifetime for sure.
Man, and then how about stuff that you actually did throughout the last 24 to 36 hours while you're there? What has it been like in LA, and what have you done with it this time? It's been a little small vacation before this huge game coming up. So how have you spent your time out there?
So most of the time has been spent here at the Santa Monica Pier. Right now, in about 20 minutes, they're having NBC Super Bowl show with Terry Crews. So I'd like to go check that out. The vibe has been very hectic, as Ubers are predicted to be within $500 to $600 for a 30-45 minute ride. So we had to book.
Wow.
It's crazy. They've moved the parking up to in the 5,000 plus to park one car for the day. So getting a ride here has been the main concern for most people. And then, as I told you, Chase, we were at Rodeo Drive, and I was just sitting in the car wearing my T. Higgins all orange jersey, and I see a guy looking at me to the right in an Uber, and at first glance I didn't believe it, but when I saw the smirk we saw right after the AFC Championship, it was Evan McPherson, which was just happy as he told him how much he means to Cincinnati and every Bengals fan out there. And it gave me some hope for tonight.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like the players are out there, just they gotta live there. They gotta live out there too. I mean, obviously it's a Super Bowl, and they're just trying to put little tweaks into their stuff. They already had the game plan set and everything, but part of it's just out there living life and everything. Out in LA, it's supposed to be 85 degrees at kickoff, is what they said, and you're wearing a beanie out there. This is not the Midwest, Ben.
You're completely right. I've gotten a couple comments about it. Super Bowl gear has actually been sparse out here. There's a couple NFL shops, but trying to get your hands on a Super Bowl hat with just the Bengals or something like that has been really, really, really rare to find. So at the stadium, I'm going to cash out there, new Bengals hat, and I'm going to try to find one with a patch on it, Super Bowl jersey. But yeah, I've definitely gotten some comments, and none from Bengals fans. They all understand it though. But I've gotten a lot of comments from LA people. What's up with the beanie?
So, have you seen SoFi Stadium yet? Have you gone by it? If you have, what are your first thoughts on looking at the stadium outside?
I will give you those thoughts later. Unfortunately, just because of how hectic it is here, and Uber there has been super expensive, and I haven't gotten to see it live yet. So I cannot wait to go see SoFi for the first time. And probably the coolest thing I've seen is it from a distance on the plane. It looks huge. If you ask any of the locals here in Santa Monica about the stadium, they told me a fun fact that I didn't know. It's probably pretty well known, but they actually had to, when they started building the stadium, a little bit on the way through, they had to start putting it underground plane that it would be too tall being right next to the airport. So they had to restart about 5% of the way in and put it underground. So it's actually technically below sea level.
That's interesting. I had no idea about any of that. That's such a large stadium, and it's over in, I believe, the Inglewood area, right next to the Forum over there, the where the Lakers used to play their games up till Staples Center or the Crypto.com. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man. Just seeing how the LA life is. I actually have the Road to Super Bowl NBC show on right now, and they're just showing the SoFi Stadium, right there. But have you seen what famous people have you seen out there? Because I remember having a couple conversations about you seeing a couple guys just out wandering around.
Yes. So Evan McPherson was obviously the most to the heart. That one meant the most. We were at a club 2 nights ago. We were outside a club, and Michael Irving was there. Neo, the rapper. Michael was getting a lot of love. That's for sure. I was trying to get a picture with him, but it was almost impossible. But I got to see him, which is really cool. And then in the hotel last night here in Santa Monica, St. Brown from the Packers and a couple others came for it was a Germany NFL. So the lobby was packed with a bunch of German fans. We have a lot of international soccer fans because Spain or a different country. If an NFL player is from there, you are a fan of that player and that team. So there's been a bunch of international. Last night, one of the Patriots players is German descent, and it was the shock on my face when I came in, and there was tens of people with the same player that I had only barely heard of, wearing Patriots jerseys, all the same jersey. Was a very different experience. But yeah, St. Brown from the Packers is probably the most famous and well known that's been in this area. Michael Irving and Neo was pretty.
I bet that was, man. And just, the Super Bowl, this is also a place where all fans gather and from all parts of the world. That's obviously shown with, NFL Germany and all that, and also announcing that they're going to play, one game, for the next 4 years in Germany. So that's awesome that the NFL is able to expand like that and expand, globally. Obviously they have the international series with games in London and one in Mexico and all, but that's awesome to see that they're able to, keep expanding and, trying to touch different fans in different countries and all. But about tonight, I'm just going to ask you a basic question. What do you think you're going to see tonight? You're going to be at SoFi. You're going to be up pretty high. What what in general do you think's going to happen? Just a Ben Connors prognostication.
Ben Connor's perspective. I think from what I've taken in here, this is a good spot to be for a Bengals fan, it's been 70, and the overall vibe I got from a couple of the waitresses and waiters were saying, while it might be really good here, it gets pretty hectic in LA. He said they're all in LA, and that's because we've only spent a little time there. So I'm expecting a somewhat hostile environment because a few of the Rams fans have been pretty hostile. They said to get out of the city. They were saying, you guys don't belong here, all these things, in which I said, it is us. I'm expecting a very good, very warm day in SoFi, and I'm expecting a little resilience, a little hostility, but I think the overwhelming Bengals majority should take over. I believe on ESPN about 30 minutes ago, where they're at now percentage-wise is 58% Bengals fans, 42% Rams. So if that's true, we have overtaken SoFi Stadium.
Well, I hope those numbers are definitely right. And I know that the Uber should be coming here in just a little bit. But one last thing. Joe Burrow doesn't need to be told anything before any big games because he's just that guy. What would you tell him if he asked Ben, what advice do you've never played Super Bowl? We all have never played in the Super Bowl. But like what would you tell Joe Burrow going into this game just as a fan's perspective and how much this would mean if we bring home a Lombardi tonight?
That's the $1 million. I've thought this in my mind times and I've had a different answer every time. I think I would tell him, I hope you know how much you mean to all of us. And you'll probably break about every accolade there is, but I promise this will be the best.
I got you. Yep.
For Cincinnati.
Gotcha, man. And obviously there's been some breakup. You're in a great spot right there, Los Angeles. Hope you have a great time at the game and everything. And I will definitely talk to you, once the show's over and see what's going on after that. So have a great time.
Thank you so much. Hooday, baby.
Yes, hooday. All right. So right now, we're moving a little bit ahead of schedule, which is a good thing because we're going to be bringing in someone right now, Jared Arvian. I hope I pronounced the name correctly right there, but we're adding him to the stream right now. Bengals Central, got the Bengals Den podcast and all. The show's at 3:30 today. Is that right?
2:30.
2:30. Okay. Sounds good, man. But how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. I mean, what a time to be alive. Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. Third time in franchise history. First time in 31 years. It's crazy. It's a crazy feeling, man.
Definitely is. It we've never seen anything like this, obviously. Just, the Bengals this year just kept breaking trend after trend after trend of the playoff, the playoff woes and just breaking that. And then winning our first road playoff game and then going into Kansas City and then coming back and beating Patrick Mahomes and the mighty Chiefs. And now we're here taking on, the guys from Hollywood. The Rams have just acquired so many pieces on offense and defense. And, they've been built to be what is a super team. And, we're going to look at one side of the ball right here, which, is a very underrated factor. They've talked about a lot of, the Bengals offensive line versus the Rams defensive line. But I want to look at the other side of the ball with the Bengals defense and the Rams offense. And this is, an underrated topic. The first question is, this could be a dumb question. This could be a question with no answer. How do you stop Cooper Kupp?
So this is actually going to be a very weird answer to this question that I have. And you stop Cooper Kupp by stopping the run first. And I think Cooper Kupp, if you look at a lot of the receptions that he's been able to take and go a long way, it's on that play action. The Rams this year in this playoff run have done such a good job at running the football. Cam Akers is back. Sony Michel, they've been a nice 1-2 punch, and they work off of that. They work the play action. And I think that plays into the Bengals' strengths. You got guys like DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Sam Hubbard. These guys have been playing the run so well. Both the linebackers, Jermaine Pratt stepped up big time in the run in the run game. All those guys have been amazing this year in stopping the run. So I think that's where you start, and then it's going to be a mixture of Mike Hilton in the slot on Cooper Kupp, and then you're going to have Jesse Bates, the best free safety in football, over the top on him. So it's gonna be a big effort. I think that's kind of, you look on the defensive side of the ball after stopping the run, that has to be the number one factor is stopping Cooper Kupp. So I think they're going to allocate a lot of guys, Mike Hilton, even probably some linebackers too. I think Jermaine Pratt's been great in coverage. Logan Wilson, he's taken a really nice step this year as well. So I think a lot of guys are going to be allocated there.
It's been real nice to get, Logan Wilson back, especially with the interception that he had in the Titans game and everything. Just, coming in coverage and all. The Bengals defense in second halves, definitely in the playoffs, have done a very good job in coverage overall. Against guys like Carr, Tannehill, and most recently Patrick Mahomes. They like to move Cooper Kupp around a lot, though. He's not always in the slot, but he really loves the work from the slot, we'll say. I've seen a lot of things where they go a lot of three receiver, like a bunch is set, and then they have Odell singled. but they're still trying to single up Cooper Kupp. Those guys are running a lot of decoys, and Cooper Kupp's just such a great route runner. And he's able, to just, read a corner, sips real well. And then, Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp have that good connection. And, Cooper Kupp's just been able to just slice and dice defenses all year. So, I agree with what you said, though. If they can keep them one-dimensional, if we can, try to make Matthew Stafford, he can beat you with his arm, but just taking away the option. He also can make some very dumb plays.
He's gonna make some mistakes too. You really take that run away. You take away that factor of that play action, because Cooper Kupp, like I said, that play action is gonna open up the middle of the field. It has all year for him. So you take away that run, you take away the play action. It's gonna be a different game for Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and that Rams receiving corps.
Definitely. And that's how I think both teams are going to try. I think they're both going to try to establish the run game because, Cam Akers, if they get things going, then like I said, it just opens up so much stuff. And then you have Cooper Kupp, and you also have Odell Beckham Jr., and you got Van Jefferson and all that. So, and it also helps Tyler Higbee's not playing, but, they can just, roll a place and fill and everything.
You actually want to hear? I have a hot take right now. The receiver I am most worried about covering today is Van Jefferson. And hear me out when I say this, because I think Cheeto, he's going to be following Odell around all over the field today. I think you're going to see a lot of Odell versus Cheeto matchup. And then I think obviously Cooper Kupp, he lines up in the slot more than anywhere else. I think like we talked about, Mike Hill and Jesse Bates, some of the linebackers. And then I think that leaves Van Jefferson for Eli Apple. And Eli Apple, he's been very inconsistent. He's played probably the best year in his career since entering the league, but he's been inconsistent, and all it takes in the Super Bowl is one big play, and Van Jefferson can burn you deep. So that's a matchup that I'm watching today, and I'm a little nervous about, probably more nervous than Cooper Kupp and Odell.
Yeah, and he, Van Jefferson, he's made some big plays throughout the season. I remember watching the Sunday Night Football game week 1 against the Rams and the Bears, and I'm pretty sure he had a big catch or a score within the first 3 plays of offense for Matt Stafford and the Rams. So, and then also I believe they played the Cardinals on Monday Night Football late in the season and also had a big time play down the field. So they're going to try to test Eli Apple and try to take him deep. So I could definitely see that. And, like I said, Eli Apple's been very inconsistent this year, and this is his best season, but obviously his best season compared to a guy on the other side of the ball, Jalen Ramsey's best season. There's such a big gap when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
So what places do you think the Bengals defense can try to take advantage of the Rams?
That's a good question. I really think today it's going to be the pass rush. It's going to be Trey Hendrickson, kind of that X factor that the Bengals defense so desperately needed. You just need a guy who is going to step up and make big plays. I think Trey Hendrickson, with his speed and his agility, is going to go to work on Andrew Whitworth today, and that's a matchup I've zoned into so very much. And also the interior of this defensive line and the linebackers, kind of this entire front seven, and just I think the emphasis is stopping the run. If you really look at the Rams, I know I've said it, but I'm going to say it over again. They've ran the ball so very well. They found this 1-2 punch. Getting Cam Akers back saved them so much. Yeah. He's been unbelievable. And I really think the biggest advantage for the Bengals, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but in the entire game, is their front seven against the Rams offensive line and their run game. So I really am loving that matchup right now. DJ Reader has played out of his mind in the playoffs this entire season, but especially these playoff games. So I got to say that front seven. I also do like Chidobe Awuzie on Odell. I do feel confident about that matchup as well.
Mm-hmm. Especially seeing a lot of one-on-ones. And I think Cheeto would be able to step up to the task guarding Odell and everything. And Cheeto's done a good job, throughout the regular season on, tough receivers and all, the exception of Devontae Adams, but, he is the best in my opinion, I think, in most people's opinions. But yeah, I also look at, BJ Hill inside. I really like what he's done since Larry Ogunjobi's been hurt. He's had, an increased role, as well as Tyler Shelvin as well. He's also played a little bit, in that rotation and all. But, BJ Hill had the big interception against the Chiefs, which really, got us back, back in the third quarter to tie things up. But I think he's he's been a good, interior presence, especially on the rush. But DJ Reader has just been manhandling the run. It's been awesome to see in the postseason and everything. The Bengals, I know they gave up some yards against the Chiefs here and there. They seem to be dialed in on on the passing game and everything. But another guy on the front four, in that front, the front realm, Sam Hubbard had a huge game against the Chiefs. And Andrew Whitworth is probably, on the left side and everything. He's going to, go on against Trey Hendrickson. And, it is a favorable matchup in a way. And, us Bengals fans love Whitworth. On the other side, though, Sam Hubbard, I think he could also have a big game himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam, too, the biggest thing with him is he's kind of evolved his game to a guy who can defend really well against the run and also occasionally get after the quarterback, to a guy who does both at a high level. And I think that's really shown this playoff run this entire season. He's really taken his game ever since getting that contract to the next level. So I absolutely agree with you that's a deadly combo right there with those two.
Definitely. And I remember hearing, about the fact that when Sam Hubbard played at Moeller High School in Cincinnati, he actually was a safety. He got bigger, went to Ohio State. They transitioned into that DN linebacker role, and now he's a defensive end. And he actually he's not a bad, defensive end when it comes into coverage and everything. And that's when Cincinnati's been able to, rush 3 at times, but they do a lot of interesting things when they rush 4, especially a lot of stunt packages. And just, with this Rams offensive line, they're a good offensive line. We just have to control the line of scrimmage and just have a little extra push. And DJ Reader, I think, is going to take over this game, especially in the interior on both the run and the pass.
Absolutely, man. You hit it on the head. Absolutely.
And then let's see, biggest matchup of the game on this side of the ball. I know we've talked about a couple matchups of, Trey Hendrickson and Andrew Whitworth, and then, Odell and Cheeto. But what do you think is going to be like the biggest of them all?
I think I honestly don't think there's any specific matchup from the defensive perspective that's going to be the biggest of the game. I just think it's going to be Matthew Stafford, and he's going to make at least one mistake throughout the course of this game. He did against the 49ers. They didn't capitalize on it. Jaquiski Tartt dropped an interception that literally landed in his hands.
Yep.
And the Bengals, you have to capitalize on that. He's going to make a mistake at some point in this game, whenever it is. It could be the first drive. It could be the last drive. You have to capitalize on that. Every single opportunity today. I mean, you don't know what's going to be happening with the offense. They just keep it that honest with the pass rush. So the defense, you have to make every single play like you have all year. You have to step up big. And the biggest matchup is going to be Matthew Stafford versus his mistakes and whether the Bengals can capitalize on that.
Definitely. And the fact that, Stafford, big arm could equal big problems. And with the Cincinnati team that has, I wouldn't say ironically ended these games like this, but they've ended every game on an interception in this postseason, and they have made up for it. Obviously, the Raiders game with Jermaine Pratt, then Logan Wilson, and then Jesse Bates' huge play, which resulted in Von Bell's interception. These guys are hungry for the football, and I absolutely love it, especially with a big play guy like Stafford, who can beat you with his arm, but can beat himself and his team as well. And I'm very excited to see how this is, because I know there's going to be a lot of, big play opportunities, and there's going to be a lot of big shots down the field and a lot of holding my breath to see what happens when the ball comes down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of moments where you're like on the edge of your seat, but hey, the Super Bowl, that's the way you want it,
Yeah, definitely. Couple more questions. How are you going to be watching the game today? Like, you got any friends, parties? What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm at funny story. I'm at school, Bucknell University, middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and I'm known as the only Bengals fan in this 100-mile radius. I don't think we got any other Bengals fans out here, but all my buddies here have been super, super, super supportive. And I'm in the dorms, but one of my buddies, he has a house downtown, so there's going to be like 30 of us down there watching the games, and everyone's repping the Bengals. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. And yeah, I already told him, I said, I'm going to be emotional either way. I'm going to be crying tears of joy or crying tears of sadness. There's no in between. So I warned them all about that already.
Same here. And, I'm having at least about 10 or 12 people, some of my dad's friends and, some of my friends who are all Bengals fans. And, I've always had this big Super Bowl party every single year. And the Bengals just, they just haven't been in it or even in the playoffs. But now I've even said it before. I'm like, if the Bengals make the Super Bowl, I believe half of you guys will not be here when that happens. It's just not going to happen. I was saying years wise, but now it happens this year. And I just took away invites. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. A lot of them are Steelers fans. A lot of them, you can't have that. You can't have that at all. All right. No, that just ruins every single vibe, even if it's a good one or a bad one. You can't have that at all. One more question, and obviously I got to get your prediction for the game. But that could also be saved for your show.
No, you good.
Okay. All right, just had to check that out real quick. Broad question: what has this season meant to you as a fan? It has been a long season. We're in the middle of February, and the Bengals are still playing football. Just what does it mean? What has it meant to you?
Yeah, man. This season, it means everything. I mean, especially like I haven't covered this team now. This is my 5th year. The first 4 years, it was torture. It sucked. I mean, we can even go back a year further before I started running this page against the Steelers, losing in a playoff game that you finally thought you won for the first time at that time in 20 so years, losing that game, and then after that, just having awful seasons, 6-win seasons, 7-win seasons, and you have that 2-14 season. And for me, someone who has to cover that team, it's sitting in front of a team streaming a game, and you want to lose the game. That's like a really weird feeling as a fan, and not a good one. And then you finally get Joe Burrow. He comes in. It's your beacon of hope. Everything's turning around here in Cincinnati. It's going to take a couple years, but it's turning around. He tears his ACL, and it's just been an awful ride the first 4 years of doing this. But this year, man, it's been unreal. It really feels like everyone who's been a lifelong Bengals fan, everyone who's put work and dedication and been loyal to this team, it's all paying off right now. And it's just been crazy, man. Like, and the thing I love about this year is the path to the Super Bowl for us was one of the most. Every single game, people always doubted. They said, "Oh, the Bengals, they can't beat the Raiders twice." Beat the Raiders. Bengals can't go into Tennessee and beat the number 1 seed. We beat the number 1 seed. Oh, the Bengals can't beat the Chiefs twice in Kansas City. They're the best team probably in football, if not the AFC. They can't do that, and we did it. And now it's okay. You're going up against the best defensive line in football, probably the worst matchup for the Bengals on paper in the NFL. Joe Burrow's gonna die. So I just love how every single game we've been the underdogs, and every single game we've proved why we deserve to be here and why this team is just it's so tight knit, and it's been a crazy year, man.
You took just everything out of my mouth and so much more. That was a great way of putting it right there. And I went to 4 games this year. I only live about 90 minutes from Cincinnati, so I went to 4 games this year, which was by far the most I've ever been to in a season. And when I went to the Minnesota game this year, it wasn't a sellout crowd, but the atmosphere and everything around it just felt different. Like it felt, I was like, all the fans seemed more engaged than in the past. Obviously, with the whole COVID season, there was, a 2-year gap and everything, but everything just felt so different. And then the way that we won I went to the Rams game. Sorry. I went to the Vikings game, the Jags game, also the Chargers game. That was you
went to 2 great games then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
wow. Yeah. And it was, those 2 games right there. Just the endings and how dramatic it was awesome. Yeah. The Chargers game could have ended very dramatically in a good way, but then the air just got taken out of the stadium. But it felt it a couple of times in the past. But I also went to the Raiders game as well. So just being able to be there and see them accomplish that playoff win for the first time in 31 years and the first time in our lifetimes, I didn't know how to react to it. It was great. I was jumping up and down and cheering. I obviously couldn't be emotional because I'd never experienced this before. And it was so cold outside as well. But yeah, like you took everything out of my mouth there. That was great. And Win or lose, obviously, this season, I'll never forget this one.
Yeah.
But obviously, we want to get that ring right there.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Before you go, what's your prediction on tonight? I still don't even have one.
Yeah, man. It's weird. So I've been on a couple shows this week and I keep going back and forth on my predictions. So I'm like, I give someone a prediction. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tweak it a little bit. And so this is probably like, you're getting my final prediction here, like my actual final prediction.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think both of these defenses are going to have their ways early on with these offenses. And I also think the Bengals aren't going to go into halftime with the lead. That's something I think a lot of people need to realize because they're going to be running the ball a lot, tiring down those defensive linemen. This might be a really quick first half of football. Then in the second half, I think it gets going a little bit more. But I have it being a lower scoring game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be 20-16. Cincinnati Bengals win it. But I do think this could be a game like we see, like Kansas City. It's not as big of a lead differential, I think. But I think you can see the Rams going into halftime with a 13-3 lead, and then you see those Cincinnati Bengals come out of the half and just dominate. So 20-16, Cincinnati Bengals win Super Bowl 56.
That would sure be amazing, especially with that score prediction, ironically being the Niners and Bengals result in Super Bowl 23. That game was also on NBC as well. With mine, I can't really. I'm gonna wait till the end of the show to give mine because I'm still trying to process so many things that could be going on with this. But Jared, thanks for coming on, man. Go out and check out his show that's coming on at 2:30, the Bengals Den podcast. Got a bunch of good episodes, actually great episodes out there. So just go out there and check that out. That's gonna be on YouTube, I believe.
Yes, YouTube.
All right, go out there.
Really appreciate you having me on, man. We've been good friends for a while now, so I really appreciate you having me on, man. And Houday, let's get this dub. Super Bowl time, baby.
Yes, sir. Houday, man. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, that was Jared, Bengals Central right there. He's got his Bengals Den podcast at 2:30. Go on ahead and check that out. They got a bunch of episodes leading up to that as well. Talked about the Rams offense earlier. Now I'm going to go over to the Cincinnati Bengals offense, a place that I know so well. So if we look at the Cincinnati Bengals offense when it comes to stats, I'll going over to Twitter here. Obviously Joe Burrow's been the focal point this entire season. Looking at, he's had 842 passing yards in the postseason. He hasn't really had to do a whole lot when it comes to making, ridiculous throws downfield or this or that. He's just been able to keep things going. You can call him a game manager if you would like to. Who cares? If we go on ahead and win this Super Bowl, he's a guy that has a Super Bowl ring. I mean, the game manager stuff, the whole Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow debate will be for an entire other day, which could be way down the road because I still think this is too early to compare these guys. But yeah, Joe Burrow, 842 yards in the postseason, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He did get sacked 9 times against the Titans, which I think is the biggest story of anything that's involving him this postseason, even bigger than the 18-point comeback last week, which was tied for the largest in conference championship history. We also look at the run game. Joe Mixon's had 190 yards this postseason, so he's averaging right around 63 yards on the ground. He had a very good game against the Chiefs as the game went on. He had 21 carries for 88 yards that game. So every game he has gotten better, when it comes to running the football as each one goes on. He had a touchdown against the Titans, was also pretty big when it comes to the passing game and all. But yeah, so Cincinnati, I believe they're gonna have to try to establish the run game or somehow just get Joe Mixon involved well with the factor of Jamar Chase being shadowed by Jalen Ramsey is the prognostication. And receiving in the playoffs, Jamar Chase 279 yards this postseason. He had a nice game. He had a nice game last week. It was 6 catches for 54 yards. and that big touchdown, which brought us into the tie as Trent Taylor got the 2-point conversion. T. Higgins with 209 yards receiving it, 6 catches for 103 yards in the AFC Championship last week. So, those two guys have really stepped up. Tyler Boyd in the slot, especially early in games, Tyler Boyd has been a big factor. They've been able to take away try to take away that option, but it also leaves room for CJ Uzama, who's been very good, and he will play in tonight's game at 6:30. He has 135 receiving yards, and I'd say 2.5 games. He did get hurt last week in the first half, so very nice to get him back and going. Very nice to see CJ Uzama back in there. We're also going to look at the Bengals defense in just a second. Got to send something out here real quick. As we get things pulled up, looking at the Bengals defense, looking at the top tacklers, Logan Wilson has led with 18 tackles in 3 games, so 6 tackles a game. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and Eli Apple, who had a very big tackle 2 weeks ago at the end of the first half, which arguably changed the momentum for the entire game. So those, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt the entire time, as we just talked about with Jared, they've been very big in coverage this entire year. And they've done a good job overall. Logan Wilson played really well in the regular season, then got hurt against the Chargers, didn't play for a couple weeks, and comes back and has a big impact. And then you also have Jermaine Pratt, who was also out for COVID with 1 week. I think it was the Baltimore game, I believe. Baltimore Kansas City game he had out for the COVID protocols, and comes back, has a big impact, has a big interception against the Raiders in the wild card round. Sacks wise, Sam Hubbard, 3 sacks. He had 2 of those sacks last week 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. Had a big time chase down sack against Patrick Mahomes, which could have actually ended the game right there as he strip sacked him. The ball came out and had an opportunity to win it right there. But Sam Hubbard, especially when it comes to even dropping him in coverage, he's done a pretty good job. So Sam Hubbard has played really well, as well as Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, he could have been, as the money moved this offseason for the Cincinnati Bengals, arguably the best signing and most underrated signing for sure in the National Football League. We've had 14.5 sacks this year, which also set the Bengals franchise record for that this season. And then B.J. Hill, a sack and a half, and also had a huge interception against Patrick Mahomes, which honestly changed the course of the game. And we were down 21-10, going in the half, and the Chiefs kept having a couple of drives that stalled, got a field goal, and then having that interception really opened the game up because it gave us short field, and then the offense was able to get things going and also capitalize on that. And then also looking at the interceptions, 3 guys have interceptions. Actually, 4 guys have interceptions, pardon me. No, 5 guys have interceptions. I keep going down the list. Everyone has 1 interception on this list. Jesse Bates, Von Bell, B.J. Hill, Mike Hilton, and Jermaine Pratt. Looking at the order, Jermaine Pratt had the one that ended the game at the 2-yard line against the Raiders. The first one in the divisional round was on the first play of the game with Jesse Bates having a big interception, which really took the air out of the Titans coming in to the game to start. Then Mike Hilton has a great read on this one on a little wide receiver screen, which is going to go out to Chester Rogers. And Mike Hilton comes off the edge and is able to make a tip ball interception and somehow gets chased down by Ryan Tannehill. And keep in mind, he was a receiver in college. But Mike Hilton was able to make a great read on that. And it was a big time play to take away a red zone opportunity for the Titans after a big run by Donta Foreman. And then and then Logan Wilson had the big interception, which gave us good field position, and Jamar and Joe Burrow were able to connect. That was also a great tip ball by Eli Apple coming back on the ball and not sitting back. He was able to make a play on the ball, and Logan Wilson was there, right place, right time with the great ball instincts. 2 interceptions were on Patrick Mahomes last week. B.J. Hill, They were trying to throw a little screen pass, and Patrick Mahomes just kept pump faking, and B.J. Hill was able to stay in front and get his hands up and make a play on it. Good job for the big guy. And then Jesse Bates, actually, no, we reversed that. Jesse Bates had the interception against the Titans. Jesse Bates did help on that last play against the Kansas City Chiefs, which ended up being in Von Bell's hands for the interception. They had Tyreek Hill running a deep over route, and Jesse Bates was able to get on the backside of it and make a fantastic play leaping in the air and keeping the ball away from Tyreek Hill, and Von Bell was there, right place, right time to make a play. So the defense has done a very good job, when it comes to making plays, right place, right time. This postseason, really the entire season, they've done a good job of just being around the ball and just making things happen overall. But then I think the biggest one we're going to look at, we looked at Bengals offense, Rams defense. We're going to talk about that one once Frank gets on the show here in a couple minutes. But the Rams defense, though, is another thing. Not a lot of tackles, I would say. Like, it's been dispersed. Von Miller leads the team with 10 tackles in 3 games, as well as Darius Williams and Nick Scott. So it's been dispersed throughout this postseason, to say the least. Von Miller, actually, once he's come to the Rams, he's led the league in tackles for loss since the period of time that he started playing for those guys. Looking at sacks, Von Miller has 2 sacks. Aaron Donald has a sack and a half. Leonard Floyd has a sack. Those are the 3 guys we're going to have to watch out for. That is your front 3 to front 5 pressure right there. Aaron Donald had a huge play when he was able to try to take down Jimmy Garoppolo, and Garoppolo was trying to make a shovel pass out. I forget who the Niners running back was right there, but it doesn't matter because the Rams were able to make a play on an interception. So, looking at it, the defensive line of the Rams is going to have such an impact today, which we will break that down more in just a couple of minutes. But here, and then Leonard Floyd has been a big name, this year. And then interceptions wise, the Rams have had a couple, Marquise Copeland and Traven Howard, as well as David Long. So we will look at that in just a second. And I'll be back in just about a minute once we get some things settled here real quick. All right, I'm back. Just had to check out something here real quick. Just a little error here. But yes, the Rams defense. Actually, I'm going to answer some questions here right now. Connor, nervous as heck about this game. I have worn my AJ Green jerseys for 3 games, and I'm wearing it today. Hopefully, we get a good luck charm because of that. That would be awesome. Dre, yes, sir. Chase, Joey B action. You already know who it's for. Joey B. We're going to talk a little bit about Joe Burrow in just a couple of minutes, but I'm expecting a big game out of him. So we will see what happens with that. And then he said, "Are you nervous?" I've never seen a Bengals game like this before. So yes, I'm very nervous. I think a lot of people across the nation, even guys that have seen us play Super Bowl before, they want to see us win one Super Bowl in our lifetime and everything. And I've dreamed of this. I've dreamed of seeing us do this, but now that it's reality, it just came and dawned upon all of us fans so quick that it would happen right now. So yes, I'm very nervous. Would I be sad if we lost? Yes. But do I think we could get back in the future? I believe so. We have a very good core group that could get us back there. But as the mantra's been said, why not us? It is us. Let's put a ring on our finger tonight, which would be awesome to see for Cincinnati. So, answering those comments right there. But yeah, the Rams defense is obviously, led by probably the greatest defensive tackle of all time, Aaron Donald. You can line him up in any position, and he will do his work. On the back end, you obviously got Jalen Ramsey, you got Darius Williams, Jordan Fuller, and then you got Eric Weddle, who came out of retirement. As we are joined right now, we're adding to the stream. Frank, what's up, man?
Great to be on, my man. This is the biggest day in decades for me, man.
Definitely is. And, obviously you were able to see the Super Bowl in the past, I believe, right?
Yeah, both of them, actually.
Yep. My dad, I remember he talked about both those Niners games. He remembers the 88 one. Just, it just still, has flashbacks and nightmares of that game, from the past and everything. I think tons of Bengals fans that have been around for a long time, obviously, have stuff like that, especially when it's Super Bowl week. How you doing, man? List everything.
I'm doing great. It's snowing outside. Yesterday it was 61 degrees. Today it's snowing. So crazy things are happening, and what's going to happen later on today.
Definitely. And you can't watch a Bengals game without crazy things happening or the way that they do it. They just do it in such wacky ways, and there's no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it, and there's no other way to do it. And, that's also why we love our Bengals.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
So looking at, I talked to Jared of Bengals Central about the Bengals defense versus the Rams offense. We're going to flip the script here and go to, I think, the biggest look of everyone, the Bengals offense versus the Rams defense. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is the biggest one. What's your confidence level of our O-line performing well today?
All right, that's a tough question because, I don't like to diss on our guys. But, I mean, if we're going to just talk about the offensive line, I'd probably say my confidence level is like a 3 or a 4. And, I wish it wasn't the case, but that's the way it's trending. But there are other alternatives, which I guess we'll talk about in a few.
Definitely. And, it would be very nice for the offensive line to just play a decent or, above average game just for today. That's all we need at this point right now. But, we got to find some type of way to just let Joe Burrow do his magic, which we have, the entire season and everything, but it would just be nice, especially with the guys that they have coming after us. What's your take on Aaron Donald? Like, what do you think of him as a player?
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. I think that Geno Atkins paved the way for him to be a first-round pick because, they were both a little undersized height-wise and, but he is, everyone says he's the best defensive player, maybe even the best player in the league. And it's been that way since basically the beginning of his career. So I have a ton of respect for him. And today I have a ton of fear of him.
Yes, I definitely agree. I was actually thinking about, for this entire week, who am I more worried about? I know this is on the offensive side, but I was more worried, who am I more worried about, Aaron Donald or Cooper Kupp? And I've been going back and forth between it, here and there. I still don't have an answer. Those guys are both great players, but Aaron Donald is a game wrecker. He can just single-handedly take on, you've seen him take on a triple team and he can still get through and take a sack. But, he is, physically just dominant, and we haven't seen anything like it, especially in this time frame, and he is head and shoulders above many defensive for being undersized. He's also head and shoulders above many defensive tackles in the National Football League. But going into that, the guy that's going to be running through and trying to run through that, that front seven, Joe Mixon. How critical will Joe Mixon be today, or how critical should he be?
Well, there's a couple different things. You can't totally get away from the run, even if they're stopping it, because we know basic football. You want to control the clock. You want to move the ball on first down. You don't want to be too predictable. You don't want Joe Burrow to throw 50 times and everyone assaulting him back there. So Mixon's going to be a big factor. We can't ignore the run. So we're going to have to be clever on how we use him. I don't know how much hay we're going to make running up the middle. They're with Aaron Donald there. It's just a very tough defensive front. So I'm thinking that we go around the edges. I think that's where, put Joe Mixon to the perimeter, and I think that's the strength for today running against these guys. And also you want to involve Mixon in the passing game. Obviously, same thing. You want to have some swing passes. Maybe you get lucky with some screens over the middle. That might be a little tougher. But I say it's a Joe Mixon perimeter game, and you can't ignore him.
Exactly. And I think Joe Mixon overall, I personally thought overall he's a better runner on the perimeter, I'd say, than he is in the tackle, like inside the tackles. Like it's kind of a weird thing. I would say I love it when they try to, use Joe Mixon on pitches and they use him on some counters and off tackle work and everything. And that's definitely going to be a key today with Aaron Donald right in the middle. And I think that game when he played against the Titans and he was a big factor when it came into the receiving game, even just, little dump offs and, stuff out of the backfield. And then they were trying to run him off tackle, especially in the second half. I thought he was a good factor when he scored that touchdown against the Titans. But just, like counters and off tackle work, the Cincinnati Bengals could definitely use that today.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, they really can't ignore him. But we have some other options as well on this offense. And, I'm sure we're going to go into that in just a moment.
Yes, we do. And, and right now we'll go into it. Is there anyone in particular the Bengals should attack on the Rams defense, but who should we use to attack them?
Great question. And that's the one that I really wanted to bring up myself. So thank you for setting me up with that. Definitely. Everyone's talking about Aaron Donald and Von Miller and the mismatches that they're going to have against our guys. But what about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd against David Long and Darius Williams and that secondary and bringing Weddle off the street? People retire for a reason. And I know Weddle's played decently since he's back, but you retire for a reason, whether your game is slipping or your body is starting to fail you. So no one's really talking about that. Like, they just think because Jalen Ramsey's back there and they have a great front line, front four, that we're going to have no chance. But I mean, when you look at those matchups, we have a lot of advantage there. And I wish that was a little bit more talked about, but maybe that's better because then we'll sneak up on them a little bit. So I don't know if Ramsey's going to follow Chase around, and I'm not afraid of that either. Like I say, be careful. You can't be reckless, but still try to involve Chase. And especially early, if you get a deep pass to Chase for a touchdown or a really long gain on Ramsey right in the beginning, their morale is going to be broken. So who knows what they're going to do? Is it going to be, are they going to go Ramsey on Chase and then double cover T and then bracket Boyd? I don't know what they're planning on doing, but I think it could be a big game for Tyler Boyd out of the three of them if that's the scheme that they're going to go with. And if they have a guy on Boyd and a linebacker cheating over constantly, then that opens it up for Mixon because they're going to have, 5 of their defenders worried about 3 of our receivers. So there's a lot of different things that we can do.
Yeah, I think we present, like, when it comes to our offense and skill positions compared to their offense and skill positions, they have Cooper Kupp, they have Odell, Van Jefferson. I think we propose a bigger threat than they would. It's close. It's close. But I think those guys seem to be a little more explosive, but we can, I think our guys can really grind it out and they can just, slowly just put those guys to death. So we have, I think we have more favorable matchups, I would say. We talked about, me and Jared talked about the fact that we could, with Mike Hilton and Cooper Kupp, if Cooper Kupp's lined up in the slot, we could see a little bit of action like that. And if Chido Awuzie is on Odell Beckham Jr. a little bit today, and the matchup would be it's not Mike Hilton, Eli Apple and Van Jefferson would be a matchup to watch. But, a matchup to watch or an area to watch, as said, Tyler Boyd. And then CJ Uzama's coming back. I know he's coming off the injury and everything, but just having his presence there is, he's been a big presence this postseason, this entire season. Joe Mixon over the middle. So, I think Cincinnati's going to take what the defense gives them. But yes, exactly. If they have an opening or take a shot down the field, if we have something like that, you got to take it early in the game.
100%. That'll break the morale. I was thinking, and I'm not going to prolong the thought, but I think for the first play, you put 3 guys on the right and 1 guy on the left, and you have Uzama as one of these 3. He goes in motion, cracks back on Von Miller, so that way Von Miller's sealed off. Burrow goes to the outside, and you have Higgins running like a slant post, and you have Chase just going. First play, boom, 75-yard touchdown. Goodbye, Rams.
That would be awesome, though. You think about the progressions of coming back one way, Burrow coming the other, and just letting Jamar Chase use his God-gifted ability to just speed down the field on, the best corner in football, just best against best, strength against strength right there. That would be awesome.
Good point. Yeah.
So I'm also going to look Chase and Ramsey. We don't know if there's going to be, if they're going to shadow. We don't know how they're going to really roll this out. Have you had any time to really think about what that could look like, Chase versus Ramsey?
Yeah, what worries me about Ramsey is his length. Obviously, he's a great corner. He has the skill to cover guys as they cut and go back and forth. I've seen tape of him like really following a guy on multiple cuts, and which is you don't see a lot of. Usually, like a decent corner will get a guy on one cut, and then when the guy cuts the other way, it's trouble for him.
Oh yeah,
he's very good at defending that, and also even if Chase has a little bit of space behind him, he's so long. Ramsey's so long that he's going to have a chance at tipping some of those balls. So that's some of the things that worry me about him. And the last thing that worries me about him is that he likes to bait quarterbacks. Now, Joe Burrow's a little too smart to get baited like that, but you could see, Chase looking like he's wide open, Burrow gunning it to him, and there's Ramsey coming along. I think that I don't know if that's going to be a problem for us based on our football IQ, but, that's something that you have to think about with the way Ramsey plays the game.
Exactly. And I've also seen, like, if we're able to put Chase in the slot, seeing if Ramsey is going to follow him into the slot, seeing if we could get a mismatch coming in there, like you said, with David Long or a Darius Williams or something like that, and take advantage of it. And if they are trying to key on that, obviously opens up, it could open up some, if they're playing a little cover too, could open up some hole shots down the field for a T. Higgins. They normally would run those with Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins runs a lot over the middle, and Tyler Boyd does the dirty work more shallow and over the middle as well. But just trying to, move our receivers around a little bit to see how they're going to match up and who they're going to match up with, I think could go a long way as well.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like you said, trying chasing the slot and just seeing what they do, because that's not Jalen Ramsey's comfort zone. So, that's an excellent idea.
Definitely. And, like said, Joe Burrow doesn't get, baited a whole lot. And I also like the point that you said with Jalen Ramsey's length. For a guy that big, and he's able to keep up with you on multiple cuts and just, stay with you like at all times or most times, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
It definitely is. But also, it also gives me a little bit of optimism as well when I saw, corners are never perfect. I think that's one of the toughest positions to play on defense, because the receiver knows what they're going to run, and the corner's basically trying to guess it or read their hips and see what's going on. But Mike Evans was able to beat him deep for that one deep touchdown Tom Brady threw in that divisional round game. So I have some hope that we can take some deep shots on this Rams secondary and on Jalen Ramsey as well.
We're going to try. We're definitely going to try, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to kind of roll in, like I will probably ask another question after this, but what has this season meant to you overall as a fan? Like, just seeing everything that's going on.
I said it earlier today, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but it's like we won the lottery. It's like that. When I woke up today, it's like we're really in the Super Bowl today. Like,
I know.
I keep using the word surreal, and that gets overused, but this is really incredible. Like, I didn't expect this. I knew that Burrow was going to take us to the promised land eventually. I couldn't believe that it's so soon in his career. So yeah, this is my favorite Bengals team. And like we talked about at the top, I've been watching these guys through all their Super Bowls and for years and years. This is my favorite Bengals team, and the Bengals team that I had the most confidence in, because they play as a unit. They all get along. There's no big egos. And then you have Joe Burrow, who is just out of this world. His confidence, his leadership, and then you break down the physical aspects of his game, like the vision, the ability to fit the ball into tight windows, reading defenses, even at this stage in his career. So all of those things, we won the lottery. I don't even care what happens today. We won the lottery.
It definitely feels like it. And, I feel like we're going to be competing for this for many years to come. But, hey, we're already here. So why not win the damn thing?
That's a good point.
That's the
you know what it is? It's like climbing. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like if you climb up a mountain, and that's what this season is. And that's you're beating out 30 other teams to get here. When you climb that high and you put that much in, and then if you don't win it, now you're back at the bottom of the mountain again. It just seems like a tough task to climb up again. And we will. Yeah. But like you said, we're here. just win it. We're this close, so let's just take this one.
Exactly. And what I was going to say was I was going to piggyback off that. CJ Uzama is like, why not us? And now it is us. We have the opportunity to do it tonight. This is the night that those guys have been waiting for 2 weeks, a season, their whole careers, their whole lives. You know, us fans have dreamed of, you know, seeing this. We didn't expect it to be this soon. That's the thing. This season in general, I've been to 4 games this year. The atmosphere for the first game against the Vikings, it wasn't a sellout game, but it felt different. The atmosphere and the optimism did feel different with Joe Burrow coming back and Jamar Chase in there, especially off the preseason and the drops and woes that the national media was blowing up and everything. But it just felt different. And as the season progressed, you know, my confidence went up and I was like, we can play with anybody in football. And I even said that halfway through the year.
I agree with you. And that's what, you know, when you see us beating the Chiefs, when you see us beating the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, without him, I don't care. I know the Steelers were a little bit down this year, but and that's the thing, anything that was put in front of us, we did. So people, when we go into the playoffs, they're like, oh, you know, you barely beat the Raiders on an official's call. No, we beat the Raiders. We beat the Raiders. We're a better team. You know, you beat Tennessee because of Tannehill. Well, we beat the number 1 seed in a road game. We go into Arrowhead and beat Mahomes, which, you know, coming into this season, I thought Mahomes was going to be like a Tom Brady, where like it's almost impossible to get past him in the AFC. We beat him twice.
Yeah, in the same month. On top of that,
oh, I know, and huge games. Like that was the biggest game of the year for them as well. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't like a cast-off game for them, the AFC Championship. So, man, I don't know. It's good times. I don't know what to do with myself. These next 4 hours or so are going to be like deadly because I don't know what I'm going to do.
NBC with those pregame shows, I'm going to be directly locked in just seeing all this stuff. It's, you know, that's something else. Like I've tried to take my mind off. I've been pretty busy this week, but I've tried to take my mind off of it. Like before I go to bed, I can't watch something about this because I obviously want to be, you know, like dreaming about this stuff, but it's like, we're here. Like this, like we could win this thing today. We could win this thing this week and all that stuff. But I couldn't watch all this stuff going to sleep because I'm just going to get all riled up and everything. And today's the day to be riled up though. Today is the day to do it. So
yes, you know. Let's live it. Let's live it. We're here. We are here, man.
Yep. Before I ask like 1 or 2 final questions, Jack Bow in the chat, as a depressed Jets fan, good luck today. Hopefully we leave that chat of teams that have never won a championship today and we join those other guys and try to have that quest of taking down the Steelers. Oh, we have 6 rings. We don't care.
Exactly. That's the past.
That's the past.
Just like when they talk about football teams, well, you know, the Bengals are X and Y on the road and Thursday night games. Those are old teams. Every year is a new team. The past does not matter. I mean, yeah, I would love to have 6 rings as a Bengal fan, but yeah, give us a decade or 2 and we're going to be right there.
Mm-hmm. This team's crushed every single narrative that has happened this year. I've seen like everything has just been crushed. In the past, that would, you know, obviously I thought Andy Dalton was a serviceable quarterback. I don't hate him. He was just a serviceable quarterback. I loved AJ Green. Loved him. I think he's still one of my favorite players of all time, I'd say. I used to say my favorite player of all time, but just the impact of Joe Burrow has been ridiculous.
And all these years I've been watching the Bengals and really living and dying with every snap. Like I don't miss anything ever. Since 1992, I've barely missed a snap. And if it's happened, it's been like a crazy circumstance. Like I'm locked in on every play. But all those years, I never really had a favorite player. Like I used to like Darrell Williams and AJ Green. Like I had guys, but there was never one definitive. But now there is. Like even as soon as he came into the league, I was like, this guy is my favorite, meaning Burrow. He's just so cool and so great. I don't know. I'm not trying to gush over him, but man, that's my guy.
Definitely. What do you one more thing about him? What do you think he's going to do tonight? And I'll roll into your prediction for the game.
I think that Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP tonight. And to do that, obviously, they're going to bring a lot of pressure, and that's going to be tough. But I think we have to be creative. And I'm not going to overtalk the X's and O's, but you know, there's a lot of things you can do, right? You chip Donald. I don't know if that's going to work. You double team Donald. I don't even know if that's going to work. You have 2 guys in the backfield and max protect. I'm not even sure that's going to work. But I think the biggest thing would be get the ball out quick, 5 wides, of course, but moving the pocket. You have to move the
yeah.
pocket. Get the pocket outside to the right. Burrow throws great on the run. Don't be afraid to go to the left because Burrow throws well on the run that way too. So that's the secret. And yes, Joe Burrow, MVP. If you're on FanDuel or anything, lay a few bucks on it. You'll be happy.
Definitely. I actually have another question. How are you going to be watching the game tonight? Like, what? You got any parties? How's that's going to go?
All right. So leading up to this, when I didn't realize the Bengals Super Bowl was going to happen so soon, I always said, if the Bengals make the Super Bowl, I'm watching it alone I have a TV in my kitchen on the wall. It's just I stand up I don't sit down for the games ever.
Oh yeah, never.
Good. I'm glad you're the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I told everyone, if the Bengals make it, I'm going to be 1 foot away from my TV, standing up in my kitchen. That's it. But my girl and a few other people talked me into it. You know, they're like, this is a big day. We want to celebrate with you. We'll get a whole bunch of food. So I have like 5 people coming over, nothing crazy, all tight knit people. So like, if you're not a football fan, don't step foot in this house. I don't need like side conversations or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's going to be, wings and ribs and all the cool food and watching the game with a bunch of people. But I think I'm going to sneak into the other room, into the kitchen by myself a bunch, and then come back during commercials and pretend that I've been there the whole time.
Yep, you've just been doing, little sidebar things, but you're locked into the game. So exactly. I'm gonna have, my friends over and stuff, a smaller group of friends from I've had in the past that are Bengals fans and that are people that I can trust, So that's obviously gonna be nice. One last thing, your score prediction. Do you have a score, or I think we know who we're gonna predict.
Yeah, we know who's gonna win, and Vegas I've seen 3.5 and 4, Rams +4. I say the Bengals are going to win by 4. So it's going to be 3 touchdowns and 2 McPherson field goals to tie that Vinatieri record. Mm-hmm. And the Rams are going to score. They're going to get their 2 touchdowns, and they're going to keep depending on field goals. They're going to get 3. I know those are wild numbers, but 27-23 Cincinnati Bengals, world champions. Mark it down, baby.
I love that pick. I think earlier we had 20-16 from Jared, which is also very ironic because of the Super Bowl in the past.
4 points.
Then,
yeah. Good point.
Then 27-23, 4 points. I'm going to follow that trend as well. I'm going to go on ahead and say 20. Give me 31-27 Cincinnati.
I'm right there with you, man. Please let that be the case.
That would be awesome. 4 points is going to be the mantra. We're going to flip what Vegas has to say. Thanks for joining, Frank. Been awesome talking to you. Definitely got to keep in touch.
Always a pleasure. I love what you do, my man.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Thank you.
All right.
And that was Frank LaPlaca. He's as the unofficial Cincy Bengals podcast. And, go check that out. He'll have new episodes about once a week. And that'll do it for us, with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams playing in the Super Bowl at 6:30 tonight on NBC. Check out pregame shows on NBC all day up to that point. I'm Chase Yantz, and we will talk to you guys in a couple days.